Hi everyone, my name is Donna and welcome to my channel. Today I am reviewing a worm composter that I got on Amazon. This review is a little longer than most of my other reviews, so I hope you will stick with me until the end.
So here is the composter. Literally took 5 minutes maybe to put together. Fairly easy. What took the longest was actually putting the spigot on. You see the spigot right there. That's really what took the longest of the 5 minutes. But it is, as they said, a very quick and easy do. What I'm seeing now is we need to go into the worm bedding, and that is going to be more time consuming because we have to make the bedding. So it comes with a brick of coconut core, and it says to fill it, to get a bucket that's over a gallon and fill it with a gallon of water, and then soak the coconut core in the water until it breaks apart and is moist. And then after you do that, you're going to take one of the working trays. So, and around here is one of the working trays. And you're going to go ahead and put the coconut core mixture in there. And while you're doing it, you're going to add either some soil, some shredded paper, garden compost, or something similar. I have a paper shredder, so I'm going to use shredded paper for mine. So what I'm going to do right now is I don't have a gallon bucket, so I'm just going to do the coconut core a little bit at a time and see how it comes out. So I'm going to work on that right now. And once I get the coconut core to where it's supposed to be, I'll show you how it looks in the working tray. The secret is you want it to be moist. You don't want it to be soaking wet where you can grab it, a handful, and squeeze water out of it. You don't want that, but you don't want it to be completely dry either. Your worms are going to like it to be moist. So that is going to be my next challenge, to try and get the coconut core moist so the worms will like it. So I'm going to do that right now, and I'll be right back. So this is the coconut core, and as you can see, I mixed some shredded paper from my paper shredder in there. I'm thinking that it's moist enough. It's not soaking wet, but it's not dry. So I'm hoping that that is what I'm looking for. And so now it says take another working tray, cover the bottom of this working tray with 2 or 3 sheets of dry newspaper, and then spread these bedding materials on top of the dry newspaper. Then place this working tray on top of the white plastic board, which is the worm saving tray, and cover it with the lid. Okay, so here is the white tray they're talking about, and this is another working tray. So I'm going to go ahead and line this one with the newspaper and transfer the mixture I just did over the newspaper. So I'm going to do that real quick, and then you can see what that looks like. Okay, so my first problem, I don't have any newspaper. I guess I've already shredded all of those advertisement papers that come in the mail. I have a lot of this brown packing paper that comes with like your Amazon orders. So I'm using that and hoping that my worms will be happy with it. Because, you know, I want them to be happy, because if they're happy in their new home, they'll produce more compost for me. So I'm going to go ahead now and put the mixture in there. and see what happens. Okay, so here we have it now in its tray that I guess is officially going to be the home for the worms. It says it's now ready to have a perfect worm form and it's waiting for the arrival of the worms. Now it says to clean the working tray, which is this one that I was working with the compost. Clean that tray and use it for preparing the bedding and set aside the empty working trays for future use. Now, for worm food, clean the working tray used for preparing the bedding and set aside the empty working trays for future use. Okay. The following can be served as worm food. You can use vegetable scraps, fruit, low acidity, so not citrus, eggshells, shredded paper, cardboard, coffee grounds and filters, grains, starches, decayed garden leaves and grasses, manure of horse and cow, wood sawdust, and hair. Now, from research that I've done, that's why I say citrus, no citrus, because of the acidity content. It specifically said not to put citrus in there. There were a few other things, like you don't want to put, even though it might be kitchen scraps, you don't want to put any dairy in there. You don't want to put any meat in there. So I'm definitely not doing that. But what I'm going to do is I do have a composter that has a bunch of coffee grounds. So I'm going to go ahead and use the coffee grounds. Now, I need to read through these instructions completely because I'm not sure when I'm supposed to put the worms in. A worm arrival. You're going to place the worms on the surface of the worm bedding and cover the bedding with a sheet of damp newspaper, and the worms will quickly disappear under the bed. Now, worms may become stressed during the shipping process. Overall, they could take a week or so to adapt to their new home, which is what the bag of worms actually said, the same thing. They might try to escape from the bin. Even when you harvest and move worms to a new tray, they may try to escape. So in the first couple of days after their arrival, it's suggested not to use the lid to cover the bin, but to use the V-board to cover the bin during the daytime, and at night, leaving a light on near the top of the bin so the worms are encouraged to burrow into their new home. The V-board is part of which comes only with the Vima Hunt Plus. I don't think I got the Plus. So that's nice to know now that I've purchased it, that it didn't come with that. The V-board can be found inside the lid and can be easily removed out and put back after use. So there is something that was inside my lid though. So maybe I did buy the Plus. Let's see, there's like this little thing inside the board. So, now, honestly, I don't like the idea of not putting the cover on it because it's cold outside and I really feel like the worms need to stay inside. And I don't want worms crawling all over my house. Cutting the worm food into small pieces is strongly suggested for quicker composting. Some of the videos I watched, they actually would put some of their scraps in the blender and make like a paste out of it and put it on top. And worms seem to like that. Since I'm using coffee grounds, I wouldn't be doing that. So it looks like I just need to put the... it isn't really telling me if the food should be put in first or after. I am thinking it should be... We suggest adding worm foods after the worms arrive. So there's the answer to that. So I'm going to go ahead and get my worms. They're over here. They came this morning. and I'm going to see what I need to do to get my worms into my worm farm. So once I get that done, I'll come back. Okay, so I have my composter put together. I have the little worms in there. I'm hoping they'll like their new home. I did have a problem. I have two kitchen compost containers in my kitchen, and I thought I would give my worms coffee grounds because I remember growing up that my dad had worm farms, and that's pretty much what he did, was he gave them coffee grounds. And so I had one compost bin where I put coffee grounds, and I had another one where I put scraps, and both of them were mildewed inside, and I'm not sure why. I'm going to have to do some research on that, but I ended up making, like right now I'm making a pot of coffee, and I'm going to make a second pot of coffee so that my worms will have fresh coffee grounds to feed on. And I drink coffee every day, so I'm thinking that I can go ahead and just give them coffee grounds, and hopefully they'll be okay. I'm hoping that I can save the coffee grounds for at least a few days in my composter because that was why I got them. And they're just like a little gallon bin. They look like little trash cans, but they have filters inside so that it doesn't smell. The house doesn't smell when you throw your compost in. But I was really, really alarmed to see that they had mildewed. So I'll have to do some research on that, and I will probably be doing a review on those two compost containers after I figure out what I did wrong, if I did anything wrong, and maybe they're just not what I should be using. I don't know. I'll have to check on that. But I'm just waiting for the coffee, and then I'm going to give my worms some compost, and I may decide to put them outside. The sun has come out a little bit, and I do have a shed. It doesn't have a heat lamp in there. I'm hoping my worms will be okay in there because I want them to be happy with their little home, and I don't want the poor fellas to freeze to death. But interesting enough, the sun is coming out right now. Our final frost date is supposed to be April 1st. I guess I wouldn't mind leaving it in the house, but I don't want them to escape and wake up in the morning and find worms all over the place. So I'm kind of challenged right now on what I want to do. But we'll see. I'll come back in the morning and let you know how the little composter looks. And it says it might take the worms a few days to adjust. They are probably a little dehydrated, so I did put half a cup of water in there with them. So I did that so that they could hydrate, and then to put them right into the compost bed. So hopefully they'll be okay, and I'm kind of excited to see what's going to happen. I never thought I would have a worm composter, but my husband passed away in October, and I thought I would start a garden to try to keep my mind off of, I'm so sorry, off of losing him. And it seemed like a worm composter would be a good idea. I just have to see how it goes. I started a composter in a trash can, just a composting in a trash can. I watched a video with the Millennium Gardener here on YouTube, and he had made a co-composter with a trash can, so I do have that set up, but I'm figuring I probably won't get good compost until maybe next season. So I decided to go with the worms, and in the meantime I just had to be buying compost, which isn't that bad. It's really not that costly, but I would like to be able to make my own. So I'm going to see how this goes, and I'm going to come back in the morning and let you know if any of my worms escaped or how things went. So hang loose, and I'll be right back. It'll be tomorrow morning, but it'll just be like instantaneous for you. YouTube is so great for that, and we'll see what happens with my worm bed.
Overall, I'm thoroughly impressed with this worm composter. It's been a game changer for my small space, and I can see why it's gained such a loyal following in the composting community. If you're considering giving it a try, I say go for it. It's worth the investment, and the benefits are well worth the effort. Before we wrap up, I'd love to hear from you. Have you had any experiences with worm composting or traditional composting methods? What challenges have you faced, and what tips can you share with the community? Let me know in the comments below. And if you're new here, consider subscribing for more composting content and tips. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.